Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. Ficus Microcarpa. And right now it is a root over rock, over pallet. I've let it go so long before I've done anything with it. This thing actually got a hold of the pallet underneath of it. You can see there the root came out of this strong side where the root is and not the rock. And just wrapped itself right on around the pallet. I'm going to have to get that cut off. I got some bugs crawling off of it and everything, so I'm going to get that off there. Just thought that was interesting. Alright, and let's see here. Look at that. I'm gonna have to force that up in there in a minute anyway whenever I get to repotting it here in a second. So it is a root over rock. I'll go ahead and start spamming you with the pictures now. When it was young, this was actually a graft off of that video I did. I think what would have been 2 videos ago now. The first time I tried to put wire on that, I was putting wire on it, and one of the grafts just like came out in my fingers, and it was probably a little whip. About that size there, if you guys can see that. And it just had a few roots on the bottom from where it was trying to graft itself into the bigger, ginseng-like roots. And I just threw it in pot with this little rock and honestly put it in the middle of some other trees that I thought I'd get some like overflow water from when I water. And then sure enough, one day I noticed that it was getting really big in there, pulled it out, and it had just enveloped the whole rock. Repotted it a couple times since. This is actually the last one. Obviously, it wouldn't be the one before. Let's take a look at the other side here. It's developed some extra little roots around the rock. Even before I could pick this up by the tree anytime, and it just had a hold of that rock the way I had it in that original pot. Pretty successful one considering what I started with, just that little whip and everything. I'm gonna trim it up here. I see some decent movement, and I'd like to take off a lot of this foliage, so I may not wind up wiring it. It'll just kind of depend on how I feel like what I got left after I prune it back pretty hard here. It does seem like most of the thicker branches I've had some wire on, and I already got some movement in them. And then most of the thinner ones are just kind of like the growth that it has right now, and I'm going to cut that way on back, so I'll wait till then to decide. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is go in and get any obvious dye back, or any obvious branches growing into themselves. That was one of them. Alright, so I think I've actually done a fairly decent job with this over time, just trying to get it to spread out and create some ramification. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and probably not cut much beyond most of the growing tips, except for maybe here in the apex. I might go a little bit deeper than that. Let's see how this goes though. And when I do go to repot it, you guys might be able to see a lot of this. I mean, it's been in this pot now for at least 4 years. Just where the substrate used to be, you can see just the roots have reached the edge of the pot and everything. So I'm going to go in with the purpose of repotting a little bit higher right in this pot, but I am going to completely repot it, meaning take it out and just take a look at what's under there and what I can trim up. I may upsize the pot just a little bit, just depending on what I find. I'm going to go ahead and just take out as much of the top layer of substrate as I can. I do find with some of these older repots, the more you just take some of that out, the easier it is to try to loosen it up. All right. It won't be terrible. Let's take a look at this root. Actually, I'm going to turn it all the way upside down here and let a little substrate fall out. The root came out and took the turn that way. It wasn't wrapping around the pot or that pallet until out here somewhere. Sometimes in a case like this, I can force a little more of the root through the hole and then try to cut it off a little bit closer. But with that rock on the way up there, I don't think I can. All right. And so that's what we've got. This big root completely coming under there wasn't all the way through to that side. It was probably about here when I took it out of the mid repot, if you will. I can't tell if this drainage stream I had on here was originally 2 pieces and it grew through it and broke it, or if it was a 1 piece. And actually I just said that kind of backwards. Huh. This little chunk of the screen left in there, just right where that grew through that. Let me prune some of these roots off. There's one there too. Alright, I am definitely going to go out, give this guy a hose down, and decide what to do with it next here. Alright, got it hosed off there. It's kind of dark now, and some of it had substrate on there, but you can see where I'm going to be able to raise it up enough, and some of that will start to harden up some. Either way, I think it'll look pretty cool to me. I did prune the roots off a little more as I was hosing it off, but then I realized this one still kind of pressed and looking like it kind of came off the wrong way there. Doesn't have any fine roots coming off of it anyway. We'll do the same to that one too. And I was thinking about getting into something just a little bit deeper, but I think I want to go ahead and restrict the growth as much as I can. And I think with this guy just being up high enough in here, I think it's going to work. I put one of the same screens back on this side. I put a new one on this side, and I put just a little layer of used stuff in the bottom there just to hold that down. And I'm going to go in and do this. And you can see from how the tree looked with the with that root kind of pushing up and also wrapping around and everything. That I did not have it tied in to begin with. I didn't have it tied in into that original smaller pipe to begin with either. But what I do, especially with the ficus like this has such an aggressive root system. What I'll do is I'll just put it in my lanai until I notice some growth coming. Once some growth is coming, those roots are already, coming back out. I'll move it into a little bit more sun. Alright, so that's going to about do it there. See how much higher it is there. It's the bottom of the rock right there where my finger is with some root under it there. That root was not exposed before. That should start graying up a little bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see maybe some contrast between the rock and the root. This side doesn't have near as much. It's got these pretty cool looking roots that kind of came out over time and everything, but it doesn't have near as much of the root showing on this side. Probably wouldn't anticipate doing anything with this until late summer. I left all the leaves on there, took most of the growing tips off. You can see a couple little sprouts in there, but left all that life, if you will, just to should help it recover quite a bit. It'll still be producing some photosynthesis with these leaves, but since it lost all its growing tips, it'll send the signal to bud more, and then should just bud along every leaf that I left, I hope, maybe even more. Alright, and here we are just about 3 months later. You can see it recovering nicely. Got plenty of foliage on it. I suppose I could have waited to do it on camera, but I did, we went probably 4 or 5 months with having it rain like 2 or 3 times. And then starting last Friday, and here it is Thursday, it's been raining every day, a lot. There was a bunch of algae buildup on this one root here, so I did just kind of clean that up. Could have given you guys a quick before shot, just kind of didn't think about it, just wanted to clean it up real quick. And then a look at the other side there. Alright, just playing around with my stand there a little bit. Got that off Amazon, I don't know, like 6 months ago. Don't really make much use of it. But anyhow, in the first part of the video, I imagine I probably said that I'd wait a little while for it to recover and then give it a good prune and get some wire on it. But then when I'm looking at it now, if I'm gonna, first off, I've had wire on these 2 lower branches a lot. A little bit on this upper one, that's how I kind of got, or on the main trunk line here, that's how I kind of got the movement to come out this way. I do believe at one point I had it up about as high as what's off the screen there, but where I've got the little clippers now. And just decided that if I was going to just clip the ends off and try to get some wire on there, I'd be leaving a ton of leggy growth on it. And so instead of doing that, I think what I'm going to do is just come and make sure I get every growing tip. And also on some of these, this was the graft from that original ginseng ficus, if you will, or Ficus microcarpa grafted to a Ficus microcarpa. But anyhow, for some reason, this one really does kind of put out some real skinny branches at first. And so I'm just going to go ahead and clip all the growing tips off. And on a few of them, trying to even get, not just the growing tip, but even beyond that just a bit. branch was kind of dead there anyway. And just see how it responds from there. Hopefully get some better back budding. And also just allow some of those twigs to kind of thicken up a little bit as it does back bud.